One question I get asked a lot is, do I still eat my former binge foods after recovery? I see a lot of videos about I eat my old binge foods or I eat my old fear foods in a day, and I decided to chime in. I know this is a really popular question because I see so many videos about I eat my old fear foods for a day or I eat my old binge foods for a day. So you asked, and now I'm answering the question. I think people ask this question for several reasons. They ask it because they want to recover or they're in the recovery process and they're thinking about the future. They're thinking about what comes after recovery. I've made videos about that before. You can go back and watch those, but it's a good question to ask. I ask the same thing. It's like, will I always crave this stuff? Will I always want this stuff? If you're thinking about recovery or you're in that process, it's a legitimate thing to think about. You're probably thinking, how do I stop eating this stuff? But I think another reason people ask this question is because they're not sure they can live without it. This is what I mean. They're not sure they can completely abandon the old binge food. So they say, hey, do you still eat those binge foods during recovery or after recovery? I think there's a little bit of hesitation. You're probably thinking, I don't want to eat it in this quantity, but I still want to have good food. I still want to have taste. I still want to have flavor. I still want to have a little bit of enjoyment in my food. I still want to have the cake. I still want to have cookies. I still want to have ice cream. I think a lot of times one reason people hesitate to recover or they just don't is because they're wondering, how will I deal with life without tasty food? How will I cope? What will life be like? Will it be really bland? Will it be really boring? What will I do to fill that void? So ask yourself this question. Can you live a fulfilling life without these foods? Think about that. Can you be happy and fulfilled without sugar, without flour, without desserts? If the dessert tray comes to you at the restaurant, would you be able to say no and still be happy with it? Would you still be able to say no to your favorite dessert? Would you be able to say no to the dessert bar at a party? Would you be able to say no to somebody's offer of something that was really good? Would you be able to say no? You get my point. Ask yourself that question. I think if you think about it, the answer is yes. Are you just going to live in despair because you can't have your former binge foods anymore? Are you just going to give up? Are you just going to stay in your room and say, well, I can't have cookies and brownies and muffins anymore, so I guess there's just no point to life? The truth is, when you think about it, there are so many other good things in life, and not just sensual pleasure too. There are so many things that bring you long-term satisfaction. There's family, there's kids, there's businesses, there are athletic competitions, there are personal goals. Maybe you can run a marathon or something. Maybe you can do a really strenuous bike race or a hike. Then there are industry awards. Maybe you're in a certain industry, or maybe you have a YouTube channel and you pass 100,000 subscribers. And then there's sensual pleasure too. There's alcohol, there is sex, there is live shows, there are movies, there is entertainment. Then there's travel. Think about all the places you could go, all the places that you could visit. There's so much beyond just food. I think sometimes we place a little too much emphasis on it. This is especially true if you have an ED and you're overeating and you find so much pleasure and comfort and escape in having these foods. So I think this worries a lot of people, and I think it really holds them back too, because they're probably thinking, yeah, how will I cope? I want to stop this, but what is life without fast food? What is life without desserts? I know people talk about unlimited permission. This comes out of intuitive eating, and I'm not anti-intuitive eating, but you hear this a lot. You need to give yourself unlimited permission to eat all the foods. And I get it. The idea is if you give yourself permission, you won't binge on it. It will lose that luster. It will lose that. It won't be the forbidden fruit anymore. But I kind of did the opposite. I decided I'm just not going to keep these foods in my diet anymore. So to answer the question, the short answer is no, I don't keep those foods in my diet. I can give myself permission to have them. There's no rule that says I can't have them, but there's almost like this mental block in my head now that says, no, you probably shouldn't do that. And I don't really have a need for it. I've never accepted that theory. I've never accepted the theory that if you make something forbidden, then you're necessarily going to overconsume it. There's a lot of things that I could do that would stimulate me and bring me pleasure, but I don't consume them, okay? And just because I forbid them, just because I don't consume them, it doesn't mean that I have these horrible cravings. I don't consume my old binge foods because there's just no good reason to do it. Don't feel compelled to include your old binge foods or your old fear foods in your diet because somebody told you you have to give yourself unlimited permission, and that if you don't give yourself permission that eventually you will binge on them. I've never found that to be true. You don't have to eat anything and everything in recovery or after recovery. That's optional. Now, some people do. Some people continue to eat their old binge foods and they're able to moderate those portions. That's fine. Some people feel safer just cutting them out completely, like I do. You know, abstinence is not wrong. There's nothing wrong with abstinence. For some people, controlled use is a good method. Another reason I don't is because I only have so many calories to eat in a day. Let's say 2,500, okay? I wanna optimize that. Yeah, I could go have cookies, I could go buy a donut, I could go have ice cream, and it would provide me some temporary satisfaction. But that's it. You know, one cookie, I can eat a cookie in 30 seconds if I wanted to, 2 or 3 bites max. Depends on how big the cookie is, right? But there's nothing else in it. I mean, yes, it's providing me energy, but there's probably a lot of stuff that I don't want. And I work with a lot of people who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and a lot of them haven't aged well. And I think a lot of it goes back to diet and lifestyle, and a lot of them smoked, or maybe they drank too much, or they sat and watched TV too much. And I don't want to end up like that. I don't want to have a bunch of added sugar and flour in my diet. I want my gut to be healthy. I want my brain to be healthy. I'd like to maintain a nice physique. I want to be athletic. I want to be able to do things that I want to do. And so when I have the option to eat a $1 donut, it's like, yeah, it's only $1 and it would make me feel good, but what else am I not eating? Life is filled with trade-offs. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Yeah, you could have a 300 calorie donut, but you could also have 300 calories of, I don't know, avocado toast for you millennials out there. I could also have a salad. I could also have 2 or 3 pieces of fruit. So part of it is I don't like the ingredients in a lot of my former binge foods, namely flour, sugar, and vegetable oils. I don't need them. I think they damage the body. And then also it's the cost. Like, what else could I be eating? I could be eating something that actually provides me long-term health. Another reason I don't have my former binge foods is because I don't have any desire for them. And that's probably the biggest reason. I don't crave them anymore. I don't have urges to eat them anymore. There's no magnetic pull. You know, back in the day, back when I was binging and overeating, eating at night, chewing and spitting, all that, these foods had this allure, and it's like I couldn't stop. I had a choice, but I didn't, in a way. If you've been struggling with these kinds of behaviors, you know what I'm talking about. You feel like there's this magnet just pulling you towards that food. But these days, I don't have that desire anymore. And that's the main difference. That's the difference between being recovered and not recovered, is that you just don't want to do it anymore. It's not fun anymore. You don't find enjoyment in doing that. You have different priorities. You have a different perspective. You look at this stuff and it's like, yes, I could have it, but I know what ice cream tastes like. I know what chocolate chip cookies taste like. I know what brownies taste like. I know what potato chips taste like. I don't need to have it again. Remove the desire, you remove the behavior. I think the ultimate way to stop these kinds of behaviors and to stop binging, stop overeating, is to eliminate the desire in the first place. You can fight cravings, you can fight urges successfully, but I think it works better if you just don't have the desire to do it at all. If you don't have the desire, it's just never an option. And why go back to your old ways? Like, why would I want to eat my old binge foods? All they do is remind me of everything that I used to do. It reminds me of my unhealthy patterns. It reminds me of who I used to be. So when people ask, why would you completely cut out your binge foods? I say, why would you not? I know what they taste like. I've had them before. I don't need to have it anymore. My old binge foods don't provide me any value anymore. They served a purpose at one point in time. They provided relaxation and comfort, escape, a nice distraction. They calmed me down a little bit. When I had those foods in large quantities, they helped me escape whatever I was trying to escape. So they served me at one point, although they came at a very high price, but they don't serve me anymore. And another thing I found is that they're only good in large quantities. You know, one scoop of ice cream isn't the same as having the entire carton of ice cream. It's a little different. So yes, you could have ice cream, but it's only going to be 1 or 2 scoops. It's not going to be the portions that you're used to. A lot of these foods are designed to be consumed in large quantities. If you went by the serving size on the packages, you would be totally unsatisfied. They're only good in large quantities. That's what you're going to find. There's so much else to eat in this world other than salted caramel ice cream and chocolate chip cookies and Cliff Bars and peanut butter. There's so much variety. There's so much at the grocery store that you've never seen. There's so much at the international markets that you've never bought. There's so many restaurants. There are so many recipes. I'm seeing new recipes all the time and new products all the time. Why not try those instead of going back to the same things over and over? I'm not saying you can't enjoy food. You should. I think most people do. What I'm saying is you don't want your food to be exciting. You want it to have flavor. You want it to be satisfying, but you don't want it to be so exciting that you can't stop eating it. And a lot of these binge foods are designed to do just that. They disintegrate really easily in your mouth. They have a certain mouth feel. They have flour, they have sugar, they're easily digestible. They stimulate your brain. They tell your brain to keep eating more. I find that recovery is best when you just remove them altogether, and I don't miss it. Now, if you want to continue to eat those in smaller quantities, fine. There is no one right way. There is my long answer to a short question. Do I eat my former binge foods? No, I don't. So don't expect me to make a video called I eat my old binge foods for a day. Now, maybe when I reach 10,000 subs, I'll do that, but by the time I reach that, I will have forgotten about that promise. Hope you found this video educational and entertaining. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my links below. If you liked this video, I'm sure you'll like one of the other videos that you see on the screen. Click one of them and I'll see you there. And as always, eat the way you're designed to.